What up, what up, what up? Welcome to another episode of What's Your Grind podcast. I'm here with two very special guests. You know, we like family, so this is easy for us.
We are family.
So I'm sitting here. All the way to my right is Tia Bell, who is an NC State graduate and the founder of the Trigger Project.
Yes.
Also sitting here to my right, Carleeda Green, VCU graduate, and owner of an I-71 compliance store. So we just gonna get right into it. Thank y'all for coming out. I appreciate y'all.
Yes. I've
So-
been waiting to be on this platform.
I've been waiting to have you on here.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's a ritual at What's Your Grind podcast to ask our guests what their grind is. I'm gonna start with you, Carleeda. What's your grind? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. Well, like you said, graduate from VCU. Like any student athlete who was passionate about basketball, I thought I was going to be the next superstar
Right.
on the court. Women's basketball behind the scenes, I feel like is, of course, we know it's not up to par with men's is. So just building those connections was difficult for me. My journey kind of led me to building networks, building relationships. I had a couple jobs, realized jobs, they kind of weren't for me either. Connected with past relationships, went back to basketball. That journey led me to going back to some of those relationships I built when I first got out of college. Ultimately, I built a passion for entrepreneurship, working with a buddy of mine. I was just helping them out, not even really working with them, picking up, learning. And I think I realized that I had a passion for learning. Like, I just need to keep feeding me because that's what really keeps me going. And in that process, I found a new grind, which was cannabis, building relationships, doing those same things that I was already doing in my life. But now it's my grind.
That's a wonderful grind. Yeah, I think that network stuff, I mean, that's everything.
Yeah.
You know, you build your network, watch it change your life at the end of the day.
For sure.
Yep. So, Tia, what's your grind?
Loving y'all. No, I am to my core a lover. I think my grind at first was basketball, just going hard to grow and evolve my whole life. But my grind today is being a mommy of two. I have my daughter on hands on my socks right now. Like literally everything is mommy to you. But being a mama too and being a motherly figure to so many young people in our city in DC. So my grind is really going hard, going purposeful, going intentional to end gun violence, but just even wider, just loving young people the way we was loved. You know, like we can be here in her store, hidden gym, where you are from, where we used to pick you up to go to the gym.
Right.
You know, where you lost your brother. We are where you really, your homegrown, just neck of the woods neighborhood hero in your store. And that's my grind, like seeing people get better and loving again through trying to prevent gun violence, but just really being that unconditional love I think that God put in my heart.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you two are on two different sectors of your journey and two different sectors. You're cannabis based and, you know, your community, ending gun violence and everything like that. But at the end of the day, you both are affecting people, connecting with people, and helping people and putting people in places to be successful. And I think that's the biggest thing. Yeah. You know, you could do two different things and still impact the community and impact those around you.
Yeah, no. And even, I think this why I've been pressed for this platform for real, because Mina, y'all best friend, my little sister, can we just say real quick, we grew up together, played together.
Yes.
I am an OG, unfortunately, in this frame, but
The catalyst, the to it all.
I'm getting
For real.
used to being older or the oldest. I am the oldest in my family to my siblings, and I think even that's where I learned leadership and learned just how to grind. But I am wanting to say, like, it's so connected what we do. I think I'm glad you drew that connection, because gun violence first doesn't just stem from somebody beefing or arguing or generational beef as we know it. It's deeper than that. It's rooted in oppression and causes and systems that have been against us. One of those things is to criminalize everything we do. So we resort to being criminals, you know, and some of us are losing our lives today on both sides of the gun because the shooter is changing too, because there is no economic opportunity in this city that looks like something they want to do. And so I love what Fat's leader is doing, because it really, it deeply connects to what I'm doing, and it's deeply driven in community mobility and organization. And so I dream that there can be a connection without the awkwardness or the judgment, and because we've been trained and conditioned to think, you know, what cannabis and is in the stigma is in our community. You
it's
know?
bad, it's illegal.
And really, cannabis is more intertwined in my life like how gun violence is when I was younger. You know, it gave me opportunity, you know, in my community to make a better living for our family. So, not me, but people in my family, you know. So, a lot of resources I've had or things I've been able to do have been from this, you know, and drugs have done so much trauma to our community, but it's, I think, important to separate it so that even young people growing up can know this is a career option.
Right.
You know?
I never even heard of that.
Yeah.
Like, never even thought of that. Like, you know, where we come from, like, again, we was on that basketball thing. We was, you know, we gonna be.
Robot.
Yeah,
we
we
don't
playing.
touch
We,
drugs. We don't
yeah,
drink.
exactly.
We don't, like, train
exactly.
your body and all of that. And it can be that, but your slogan is gym first, smoke later. Like, it can, you know, it can be those things.
And
but
I think it grew to that for me because just what y'all said, you know what I mean? It was a stigma surrounded. I was the child, like, actually, I'm not going to do this, not going to do that. That seems bad.
Yeah.
So to be in this position and have the opportunity to learn more about something that, like you said, is connected, because this is an opportunity the same way basketball was for me. And then it's able to build that generational equity that could be around for years to come, somewhere where you're comfortable. Like I said, when I got out of school, I started working in these businesses, these corporations, and I just wasn't comfortable. I felt like I was doing something for someone else. I had to wait to really kind of feel like, oh, maybe I could take this route, or maybe they'll see me. I'm waiting to see if they'll believe in me and realize that I have a gym or I have a skill that could take, you know, their company or their business to the next level. Unlike here, where I want you to show me what you could do. I want you to bring that skill set out, because that's something that was not there for me. I just want to provide those opportunities that made me feel awkward, and I didn't know how to grasp them or speak up to get them. And now being in this position, I'm just like, look, let's talk, let's be together, let's tell me what you're good at, you're great at, so that we can all, you know, build this equity, this generational movement for all of us. Because yeah, it's big. It's big. That's what happened to me. They welcomed me with open arms. I just want to continue to do that for the culture and the city. We know how things are changing with
Every day.
You know, where I grew
without
up.
us, yeah.
Without us not included.
Where we picked you
in
up
the
from
change,
does not look like where we came today.
Oh, no.
Right, for sure. So it's a blessing to even still be here.
Right.
I was on a platform where I was able to talk about the changes in the neighborhood and how it's really only about 2 or 3 establishments that is still here, that is still catering to, you know, Black and brown communities. And when I mean a couple, I'm saying literally one other establishment,
Right.
besides one that I know. So it's rough out here to provide those opportunities. That's why things like crime is on another level in our city, because we don't have those opportunities for our people, unfortunately.
So my question is, and I don't know if there's any direct answer to this question, going back to gun violence and kind of what Carleeda said. So I hear a lot of people all the time, like, you know, when it was COVID and stuff was closed, or we don't have enough this and that recs or things for kids to get into, so they go to the neighborhood, they go to violence, they go to this and that. How do we even begin to try to solve that? Like, do we just build a rec and then, you know, everybody will come? Or like, will that stop the violence? Or, you know, what kind of do we put in place to kind of like help that? You know what I mean? So it's hard to say you're gonna put a wreck somewhere, but then somebody just shot my whoever, and I'm supposed to go to the wreck. You know what I mean? So, you know, especially in rap, and we know get that back in blood. So now it's a combative thing. You know what I mean? So I know I said a lot, but just how do we even start to what does that look like? Ending gun violence.
Well, I'm gonna speak from where I'm at
Yeah.
in this and from my lens. But again, what I said as far as opportunity, that's number one. I think the biggest thing for me when I moved uptown was the fact that I was accepted by people that looked like me,
Right.
and they had things that I was interested in. Like
Right.
at the end of the day, I think the biggest thing that saved me was the village, right? So for a person or a child to feel comfortable, or their parent to feel comfortable, I think one, it has to start in their community to the point where there's someone trusted.
Right.
She's the mom of the neighborhood, the area,
Right.
the DMV. So okay, we see her now. We feel like we know she cared. You can't fake real. You can't fake passion. You can't fake effort. So I think some of those things, you just have to again get in those communities, build those relationships, and take it one day at a time. We don't know.
Right.
Clearly, this is an ongoing fight
Yeah.
for multiple communities outside of DC as well. So I think for me, it starts there. It starts with opportunity. It starts with connecting. It starts with putting people in these positions that are real and that don't have these motives that don't serve our community or our people. You know
And
what I'm
as a kid, I see you in that position, something that's not, you know, we don't usually see black people in those high power or like caring positions.
Right.
It's like, oh, that's actually real. Like
Yeah.
I can actually do that one day.
Yeah.
And if you never see that, it's like, you know, I don't really got no hope. I ain't never see that before.
100%. I had no clue this was even possible.
Right.
Before I met an individual that I'm like, hold on, I could do this.
You do
and I'm
what?
literally riding around. I'm seeing these things. I'm like, I could really do this. Like, you know, it was just me being somewhere and being like, this is attainable. The same way with basketball. A person went to college. I'm like, oh my God, I can attain this.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I can do this. And I was able to watch, like you know, we were able to watch someone literally do something different for the area. I'm
Right.
like, this is crazy. So.
Tia, how you feel about it?
That question is what I wake up and ask myself every day. That
Right.
loaded ass question.
Right,
you
right.
just said
Real loaded.
is what I wake up and ask myself every day. It's what drives me. It's what I think my heart beats for. I think God really designed my life from my mother being shot at 10. Before that, we were losing her friends, so I knew what gun violence was. I didn't know what gun violence was. I knew what it was to lose a loved one being shot. I didn't know this was a disease infecting us since Martin Luther King had died, you know, since heroin, drugs were in the picture, since oppression had been in the picture. We had used the gun to solve issue. So I started Trigger. Trigger stands for True Reasons I Grabbed the Gun Evolved from Risk. So when you ask that question, the simple answer is awareness. Change with anyone, with anything, transformation starts with awareness. That butterfly knew it could evolve, you know, and so when people say the Trigger Project, they embody that gun violence is a disease, and it stems from how COVID you can be easily susceptible if you have chronic illness or lung or, you know, respiratory conditions. With gun violence, if you don't have a mentor, if you go to a poor school system, if you live in poverty, if you hungry, if you don't have a parent to connect to, if you don't have faith, if you got youngers rejecting you, all those things are root causes and risk factors to gun violence. So it's very intentional what I'm trying to do, because I just thought losing people to gun violence was normal.
Right.
Like people be like, female gun violence is so, no, my mother was shot by girls. In 1999, when we were all born, DC was the murder capital.
Oh, yeah.
Like that energy was already indirectly exposed to us. So Carleeda talked about exposure and support and opportunity though. our entire city, top down, needs awareness that gun violence is a disease and how it really is infecting us. Because if they did, I think more compassion would be visible. So we got rec centers. Recs aren't the problem.
Right.
It's the getting the population that is in need and that needs to be seen and that needs to have that same belief in itself that Carleeda had, because it wasn't just the exposure she had and we had. It was somebody believing you that put those positive emotions and beliefs in your head that allowed you to act on that opportunity. Even that speaking on camera is something that my young people are not thinking about doing or comfortable doing, you know. So I think awareness, exposure, support, Trigger University in DC, we need an old building given to us and let us really be that place, that hub.
Yeah.
It's nobody you can call if you want to shoot. It's nobody I could call when I was 10 when my mother got shot. So we are being that, and we're intentional about that. I've never forgot what I felt when I lost friends, loved ones, now young people. And I think we got to consider that we are losing people who are behind the gun too. And so it just awareness.
Yeah. And like Carleeda said, it start in the neighborhood, and that's fact. Like, my whole thing is real life versus like the music. And I want to know what y'all feel about like the music. You know, everything is trap this, trap that. And you know, that's what we grew up to. That's what we like. That's what, you know, because it's.
I call you Gucci. And that's because we love him.
And it's very relatable, you know what I mean? But some people just listening. Some people really living that life. Like, I can't get caught lacking because it's either me or them type stuff. You know what I mean? So, like, how do y'all feel about the music? Do they, you know, I don't think people need to change, but just, you know, I think I heard T Grizzly say the other day, you know, like, this is I'm speaking about my real life. I'm not talking about robbing people and da-da-da-da. You know, I don't do that no more. I had to do that to survive. And, you know, a young person is so impressionable. It's like, I want a gun. I want to be, you know, on the block too. How do y'all feel about that and just music having an influence on gun violence as well?
I think that's always kind of been a thing, right? But now things are produced at a faster rate. Our world is moving way faster than it's ever moved. I feel like for me, growing up, like, that was impossible. The same way I go back to the fact, like, okay, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm an owner, it's attainable, I was around it.
Right.
For me, a rapper, singer, or entertainer, I'm like, I can't be that. I'm gonna do this in the house, but I don't look like this because I don't think it can happen. Now I feel like because people are getting the opportunity, I know a guy down the street, actually, he really raps and he know these people, I can do this. And now it's a bigger spotlight around it as well, where it's like, okay, kids are attracted to it. Now that same person who grew up like me, like thinking, okay, no, I probably could do this because such and such be rapping, and now they have a platform. Social media gives everyone a platform.
Right.
So I think now they believe it. You know what I mean? Like, I was listening to these rappers and these singers and I was into it, but I ain't necessarily think you were doing that. I didn't even care that you were doing that. I couldn't see your personal life. Maybe whenever a situation happened, we had found out how we did back in those days. But now we're following every step of a person's life. So now I want to be this. And if that's being a shooter or being with this person or whatever it is that this artist is speaking about, I actually believe you. I see you. I can do this. Now it's more attractive to me. And that's really what I feel. I feel like back then I was programmed, I was watching basketball. The programming for me was not too toxic because I'm looking at basketball and I told you I didn't believe the other side. So now I see basketball, but it's like, and I believe this side. So I just think it's more influence, unfortunately, to do negative things when you're not accepted by this community, when you're alone and now you're trying to figure out who can I be, who can I, you know what I mean, get reinforced from or whatever.
I think just we need society, community, we need youngins, we need to sit in that because that's true, but it also is true that gun violence influences music. So I think I was just talking to my mom about this. She's a survivor. She has been in it. Um, she just said that music changed when rappers started sharing the code. You know, we talked about the struggle. We talked about what we saw, but she said a lot of rappers in her day wanted to glamorize not so much the struggle, us looking good, us winning, you know, us our success, and then it changed. And she said her and her generation played a role. My mother only 16 years older than me, but her generation played a role in really breaking down the doors for Eazy-E, gangsta rap, you know, because they needed a cause. But it's so crazy because as young black people then, they didn't, and I was with her, so she's a mother and a teen, you know, but I don't think they had any other platform to use that could help them step up and be prideful, you know? So we had to use gangsta rap or whatever contradictory, you know, as subject to come together. And that's really why we are where we are and why we can kill and why it's normal in our country, because so many opportunities were not given to us. So I want America to sit in like music influencing, yes, but gun violence influences music. These rappers show up to the mic, hurt, self-medicating, trauma, below trauma. That's what's going to come out. That's what's going to manifest. And so I try to push what was pushed and instilled in us. Like, we are the change, we are the difference. And that's what I share with my youngest. I spread, you know, that piece. It's called prevention. Prevention is the absence of disease. Where there's no COVID, where there's no gun violence, where there's no hypertension, it's absence, you know. So we got trigger fingers. My youngest got trigger fingers, know where to get a gun, they know where to go to a studio, but it's easier to get a gun than get in the studio. The studio costs.
Right.
You know, so, and Carleeda said something so profound, and I want to share this. Being a shooter is just like a career path. So I do want to shout out young people who are not even on that. It's having an intolerance towards deviance and violence, because it's hard in a culture of violence to be that prevention, you know. So it's only 2% of this population in our city that damages and harms and shoots. It's a small percentage of people that are in pain. Our city is doing a lot to like try to stop retaliation, but they're not doing a lot to invest in prevention.
So you're saying that the people that are doing it are usually most likely in pain from some type of trauma, or
I think it's a few categories of shooters.
Okay.
I think some people are in pain and like bred to be that through their pain, through their access, through people using them as pawns too. I think right now they said 70% of gun violence comes from petty disputes. So I think people don't have the conflict resolution or communication.
That's what I was going to say, the communication skills.
Pain. That's pain.
Right.
You know, like growing up, y'all, I didn't talk a lot. I just played ball. I would give like advice, and I'm quiet. You know, I could laugh a little bit, but I'm quiet. I didn't know how to vocalize my pain. You know, I didn't know what was sitting on me. I didn't know why I was angry on the court, and I was the fucking GOAT. I never felt good about myself, you know, completely, and that was trauma, you know, and not being able to vocalize that. So and then you got the generational beef, you know. My sister's father was taken as a result of 37th and Simple City, and that was 20 years ago, and to this day, 37th and Simple City is why No Savage is locked up. So I think it's a few things, and then just the access to the gun. So you got athletes, y'all, that are losing their life. When we was coming up, we was protected.
You didn't touch?
You ain't give us the J, you ain't give us the gun.
Yeah, nothing.
And now the athletes lose that lack of opportunity, or somebody judge them or turn them, y'all, and then that's who we losing. It's the people the babies in the spotlight who are losing everything with a click. And it's sad, but it's not. I don't think people in important positions are realizing that trend. Like, it's really our athletes out here that I think are doing a lot, and I think it's the adults' fault.
Yeah, I think that falls into what I was saying as far as like the lack thereof confidence. I know the biggest thing for me was the people around me poured so much into me. I had no confidence. My self-esteem was here. The only time I had confidence was playing basketball. It was playing basketball. It was nothing you ever could tell me. You probably saw an attitude that you were never going to catch me carrying, just being myself. But on the basketball court, nah. That was different. So I feel like with the youth, what are we pouring into them? That's why when she say, "Oh, it's our leaders," or it's the people that's overseeing, or however you want to label that, but that's put in those positions with these kids. What are we pouring into them?
Right.
I can't tell you from my lens. I know I have a few different kids, teenagers, people in my life, and I know it's not too many opportunities. I know in comparison to what we had, and we were barely scratching the surface then.
Right.
It's still not a bunch of opportunities, or it's just not things put in place to make a child or
That they want.
believe. Right.
It's not what they want. Like in a perfect world, if it wasn't so taboo, I would love to do a field trip here to just expose them. And it's the entrepreneurship. It's not stop. I don't want anyone to believe they smoke and you could put them in here and then that's no.
But it's changing the narrative too of behind the weed.
Exactly. And you got to educate young people. Y'all, when you smoke, it is stopping your brain development. Your brain needs to develop and nourish itself and drink water. Get the damn soda out there. But you need to nourish your brain on many levels. You need to nourish your heart on many levels. But your brain is a muscle and it stops really its full capacity at 26 for you. So don't do that right now.
And like you said in the beginning, both of you all were directly affected by gun violence. I remember when we were in high school, Carleeda, we was at Best of Maryland.
Yeah.
And your brother just passed away. That day before or during the tournament, I can't really pinpoint when, because it was so long ago. For me, that wasn't, directly affected. But then you came the next day and played in the game after your brother was just, shot down right in front of your house. You know what I mean? So I think sports, I just kind of want y'all to speak on the sports side of it, that being an outlet for us. And it's not always, I feel like you either got to know how to, what J. Cole said, I got to know how to shoot a nice J, or, I got to be the shooter. So, and that's not our only two roads to success. So just speak on just sports being like an outlet for you, because that's heavy. Just coming and then crushing, the next day after something, that big happened to you.
I think looking back on it, I was so routine and so robotic with how that situation, after that situation happened, how it affected me. It was just so get up, wash your face. It was routine for me, right? That shook my world up. I think that was something my family had never felt on an immediate impact level. Like you said, it was in my neighborhood. And then I came back from the tournament, Murfreesboro.
The Tennessee one.
So I was coming back from that tournament, played horrible that tournament. I remember I was shooting air balls so much. Frank was on me never before, and I remember
Shout out to Frank.
The commentary. It was crazy, but I played bad. Nonetheless, my highlight tape that was made from high school, that's when I made the girl fall and had the highlight.
At Best of Maryland.
I come home to the fact that, one, my brother was missing. I kind of had my own investigation, called a bunch of people, found out later that evening that my brother was taken. The Best of Maryland tournament was literally the next weekend. Played the best basketball of my life. So I say all that to say the team carried me, and I had no clue. Looking back, I don't know where I would be at, because looking at my brother's situation, that was a person who didn't have the same village as me, who didn't have things pouring into him, who felt like this is where I'm accepted.
Living in the same house, though.
Living in the same house.
Two
my
different.
My brother had just moved back to that home probably a year and a half ago, though. So yeah, we was in the same house, but you got to think I was a routine. I was a robot. I was basketball. I was an NBA player in high school. The schedule that our coach had us on, I was a professional. The way we all were.
That's a
The
good
way
Kept us
he
busy.
told us. Yeah,
That's
and
a
like
good
we
point.
wake up, we had shoot around. We worked 6 days out of 7. You know, the only thing we didn't do was wake up in the morning before school started and
And
practice.
go.
That was
Yes.
the only thing that
Surprisingly.
But we was out till 11.
right. You know, and then it might be 12 because I'm
Right.
that person uptown.
The last drop off.
Exactly.
Right. One of
So,
the right.
It was so routine that I had no clue that I was you know going. Knew I was going through something, but the trauma it didn't hit me until later because I've already have been dealing with things. I was exposed to therapy at 11, so I knew how to use my hobbies and creatives, you know, to make me feel good outside of basketball. So I already developed, you know what I mean, something to do on my downtime. But I had these group of girls that cared for me like no other and was pouring into me, and just I didn't know they were saving me at the time.
Yeah.
The moment I found out, my basketball team was there the next day. Literally the next morning, I'm with my little brother and I'm with my basketball team.
Yeah.
The day I found out, I had practice that day. Like I said, we got back those late hours, the early mornings. We got back 1 o'clock. And to take you through it, my mom, we walked to the store. And in retrospect, the situation was actually the police. The whole thing was happening while we were at the store. Everything, we saw the whole situation. We just had no clue that it was
Oh, wow.
you know what I mean? So the next day, like I said, practice, boom, boom, boom. I say all that to say the team literally carried me. Like our basketball team went through about 5 deaths, including more gun violence with people being affected directly on our team.
Right.
So we were like, sports was everything. Like it still is for me because those lessons that I learned are carrying me through life. Like those things that I was exposed to, those relationships, those tools and skill sets that were built unknowingly, keeps me going.
You just made me realize, like, when I was in my house, it was my siblings. When I was outside my house, it was my team. When I went to college, it was my team. When I graduated from college, it was my staff, my team, you know. So, like, I think we all just flourish well in a team. And I think I'm even reflecting, because I remember when we dropped you off after practice, some detectives were still around. So that scene really sticks in my mind. But I don't really remember what we used to say, but I remember how I felt, you know, talking to you. And you were always, because I was not comfortable talking growing up. I stuttered. I ain't like my voice. I didn't know how to say what I was feeling, you know. And so I was always safe with you. And I just remember, like, being there, like you said. And really, there is nothing else that can help anyone get through losing someone to gun violence other than somebody just sitting there, being there, you know. I think because we deal with it so much, that, like, finding ways to heal, not ignore it, or, you know, like I said earlier, or do whatever we do with it, go around it, but really going through it is really what I want this next generation to feel empowered to do. Because we've been through a lot, but we have the resources, you know, to the village, and we created our village, all of us, you know. And not that some youth can't, you know, but that's where the adults really have to come and step in, because you got to see that young man, that young lady, if they not seeing themselves.
Right. And like I said before, not everyone has sports, you know, and like you said, Tia, you just got to kind of listen to them first of all and see what they want and what they need and provide that. And it can be in them recs that we saying that we just putting in and stuff like that. It can be in those, but we just got to get something to catch their attention and be those adults, be the change. You know, what's that statement? You got to be the change that you want to see or whatever. And that's on us for this next generation, because they different.
They got so much access to information.
Yeah.
Right.
Know, it's a lot to process that.
Right.
That part.
You know,
It's different.
mental health too, I want to speak just real quick, because I know you touch on that. And grinding, you got to grind graciously. You know, I think when we were younger, like you said, we were so robotic. I'm glad you got through it because you are so full of substance, and I just want to give you your flowers now. But you pour out, you know, so much, and that is you wouldn't be able to do that without true healing and self-care, you know. So I do want to say, like, grind, but grind graciously because we got to last, you know. We get one heart, one mind, one body. And we know what it means to grind and neglect everything.
Yep.
So that is, I think, my message to anybody listening to your platform, to your dope platform.
Appreciate you. But no, I think the message is that we've talked about and spoken about is very intentional, very coming, you know, from a genuine place because we've all gone through stuff. And that's the thing about the podcast. It don't matter if you're cannabis, Trigger Project. We all, in some way, shape, or form, have gone through adversity. And it don't matter what it is. We can always pour into other adults, other kids, and stuff like that. And I think that's the best thing, and just starting from here and then taking that and growing that on different platforms, you know, with the store, with the nonprofit and stuff like that. So just figuring out different ways that can work with us. And I think the biggest thing is giving back, and we've done that. And we're going to continue to do that, you know. So that's why I even have y'all on here. So because y'all been doing such a great job of doing that.
Y'all are prevention. Like, know that. Please walk away knowing that y'all are a part of the solution in both your own lanes. And even our platform, the man behind the camera is STCP, giving our people a voice. That all is prevention. You know, cameras make us feel seen. Imagine when we used to try to get on the Jumbotron. You know? Like, I just wish I could do that with youngins. Just walk around with something and put them, just pick them up, put them in the newspaper for anything. Just because, you know, but grind season.
Oh, yeah, all the time. Tia, please tell the people where they can find the Trigger Project, your social media, all that. Please lay it out for them.
We are on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at the Trigger Project DC. Follow us, connect with us, be the prevention with us.
Carleeda, please let them know we in the store right now. Please
follow our Instagram at the Hidden Gym DC. We are on TikTok, Twitter at Hidden Gym DC. No, hiddengym.dc. I'm sorry about that. But yeah, definitely follow us, and you can follow me at Carleeda's Way _ on Instagram and Twitter.
Like I said before, thank you ladies for coming out. I really appreciate it. And you can catch this episode of What's Your Grind podcast available on YouTube, and follow us on all the socials at Grind Season LLC. Free promo. It's a wrap.
Oh, my nerves.